and welcome to today's live IELTS class. My name is Adrian and I'm streaming to you from beautiful Budapest here, very sunny and warm these days in Central Europe. I hope everybody has had a great week, staying healthy, strong, paying attention to each other, of course, during these times, and looking forward to a good weekend. In this class, we are looking at a task 2 question that comes from one of the past IELTS exams. And of course, this lesson is presented to you by aehelp.com. For academic IELTS success, please check us out there. For general IELTS, visit us at ieltshelp.com. Again, on both of our websites, we have lots and lots of HD videos for you to help you get prepared, improve communication skills, improve your vocabulary, grammar, your English skills, and get those nice high band scores. For today, here's a code to give you a little bit of a discount. R4TYJ will save you 20% on our premium package. Hi Begjan, hi Gi Neil, Samuel, Abhishek, Pavan, and Rajveer. Good to see all of you in this class. Our websites, they look like this. This is the academic one here at aehelp.com. Click that big red button and then click the blue button, use coupon code R4TYJ to get that discount. And for the general IELTS, same idea, green background, gieltshelp.com. Click that big red button and then click use coupon code. Hi Rashika. Nice to see so many of you in the class on time. All right, students, if you have questions about the exam or our courses, I know lots of people are taking tests these days. Adrian at aehelp.com, that's how you can get a hold of me by email. Today we're starting this task 2, members. Tomorrow we'll finish it up. We'll definitely get past the planning and the introduction today. And then this class will be followed by a brand new reading passage, just kind of a little bit of a preview from the exams that we're developing for you for later on this year. Those of you who want to get our exams in paperback, you can do that. We have some really nice books, physical books that you can get from Amazon. Look for aehelps Academic IELTS or G-Helps General IELTS on Amazon, and you'll find 2 exam books for each of those exams. All right, let's get into it. So members, here's the question for today. Before I begin, anybody have any questions about task 2? So I want to give you a chance sometimes to ask me some questions at the beginning of class that might have come up. Again, this is our task 2. Let's read it while you're thinking of your questions. So IELTS task 2 writing, you should spend about 40 minutes on this task. Some people believe that nowadays people have too many choices. To what extent do you agree or disagree with this statement? Write at least 250 words. So it seems like a simple question, but definitely very philosophical. So it is a thinker. You have to make sure to plan it out and have some good logic, especially in the planning, so that you can write a good essay here. Rushing this question would be a really bad idea. So certainly take your time to make sure that you understand it. Viewers, when you see a task 2 question that looks fairly simple, like it's just, you can see it's kind of short, doesn't have so many words. Oftentimes it's one of those too good to be true situations because they're quite philosophical. So even though the question appears simple enough, it's quite a philosophical question. So there's a lot of different ways to approach it, and you want to make sure that you're taking the easiest road to finishing your essay with a high band score. Okay. All right. Rajveer is asking, how do I make a smooth transition from the hook to the background? Rajveer, we'll do that today, okay? So making a smooth transition, Rajveer, from the hook to the background, it's content. So content is always the smoothest way to transition, regardless of where you are in the essay. So it's a nice question, Rajveer. So Rajveer is asking, we'll go in the top here. So Rajveer is asking, how can I transition smoothly between the hook and the background? Okay, so the best answer here, Rajveer, is you have to have good content. So linking information. This means use the topic in the hook and paraphrase and use it again in the background. Okay, so that leads me to another important point, Rajveer. A lot of times students fall into this trap thinking that linking words or conjunctions are the best way to make transitions. Okay, and I'm going to make an important point here, so pay attention. So many students believe the best way to make smooth transitions in the essay is by using linking words, better said as conjunctions, like however, or firstly, secondly, and so on. But this is not true, okay? But this is not true, okay? So they are good, of course, linking words and conjunctions. They're definitely good to use in your writing, but that should not be your cornerstone for transitions, okay? Always, and this becomes even more important in high-level writing, in college, university, and professional writing. So always content and context are the best ways to have a smooth and well connected essay. Okay. Second are using conjunctions. Okay, so you should always give priority to content, to the information, and making sure that the information links together and there aren't holes in the information. Okay, so one way that I like to describe this with information students is kind of like you start with an idea here. Okay, and this is your reader, so your reader starts here. Okay. Now, your goal as a writer, okay, because it's not a conversation, they can't ask you questions, they can't ask you to fill in the holes for them. So a good piece of writing always takes the reader, like let's say it's an argument, for example. What I like to say is up some stairs to the final concept. Okay. So what you want to make sure is that from start to finish, you have every step in the staircase. What sometimes happens with students is they tend to think that the reader has the same information as they do, or they don't pay attention from the reader's perspective. So what ends up happening is they miss some stairs in their explanation. And then what has to happen is the reader has to jump to this idea and kind of fill in this missing stair. Now, what happens when a student does this several times in an essay is the reader becomes unable to fill in the blanks. And then, of course, what happens is you lose coherence and your reader is now very sad and is taking a head dive into the unknown. Okay? They're confused. They don't know what's going on because there's missing pieces or elements of the information. All right? So your goal as a good author, as a good communicator beyond the concept of English, of vocabulary and grammar, is to have all of the stairs in place so that your reader can really comfortably move up your ideas and arrive to this final convincing argument or concept and be really happy and say, hey, thumbs up, you did a fantastic job. Okay, it's a valuable essay. And ironically, you do not need very complicated vocabulary or very complicated grammar to build the staircase. So you can create a very nice staircase or idea flow with very basic vocabulary and grammar. And conversely, you can create a very poor staircase with a lot of holes. And I see this very often when students send me task 2 essays for scoring, where the reader just seems to fall through into the unknown. Okay, so really keep that in mind. Okay, really focus and work towards building that flow of information. And so always remember that you're connecting ideas. Okay, just because you use the word however or furthermore doesn't mean that your essay will make sense to your reader automatically. All right? Okay, everybody got that? So that's really, really important. That's your primary goal in your quest to become outstanding authors, creating really nice works of literature that are valuable. Okay? Everybody got that? Couple of thumbs up? Yeah? All right. Okay. All right. So good question. Good question. Okay, let's take one more and then we'll get into it. Okay, Jaineel says, I'm confused about which types of choices. So Jaineel, that's in regard to this question, so we'll get into it. Rajveer says, yes, you can explain it while writing the introduction. Okay. Samuel says, is IELTS Task 2 the same as the GRE issue essay? It's similar, Samuel, but the GRE essay is much higher level. Okay? For those of you who don't know what Samuel's asking, the GRE is the Graduate Requirement Exam. So the question is IELTS Task 2 the same as the GRE? GRE means Graduate Requirement Exam. Okay. Graduate Requirement Exam, the issue type, because there's a couple different ones in the GRE, right, Samuel? Issue type. They are similar, but the GRE is a much higher level of writing. Okay. GRE, for those of you who are doing master's or PhD, that's very important for you to know. The GRE is a standard exam needed for graduate studies, master's and PhD in many countries, including, of course, US and Canada. Okay. This exam is designed for all students, regardless of mother tongue. Okay, so that exam has absolutely zero connection to whether you speak English as a second language or as a first language, Samuel. So the GRE is certainly a much higher level exam, but it is similar. It is a persuasive essay, Samuel. Before you get there, you definitely want to learn even more advanced persuasive essay writing, okay, which I'm not going to get into. All right. Yeah, so Samuel, issue and argument essays, again, they're persuasive essays, so it's the same concept as Task 2 in the IELTS, just at a much higher level. All right? Okay. So let's get to the Task 2 question. All right. So I'm happy we covered a few inquiries at the beginning here. So here we go one more time. You should spend about 40 minutes on this task. Some people believe that nowadays people have too many choices. To what extent do you agree or disagree with this statement? Now, Jaineel will answer your question here as well about what does too many choices mean here. So first of all, let's paraphrase this, okay? Paraphrasing for this simple two-sentence question here is absolutely very important. So let's do that. Let's write this in our own words and make sure to retain the meaning. Okay, so here with the paraphrasing, it's very important to keep the same information as the original question. Okay. All right. So there is my paraphrase. I see a couple others coming up. That's fantastic. So Pavan says, few individuals believe that currently there are plenty of options. Yeah, options is a nice way to paraphrase that as well. Pavan, few and some in this case is not quite the same. Few means a little amount, but some means there's a number. It's not necessarily a few when we say some, okay? Just for future. So few is not always equal to some. Few is always a little amount. Some can actually be a big amount relative to an even greater amount. Samuel says, certain individuals believe that there are too many options to choose from in daily life. Okay, Samuel. Again, always remember to paraphrase that second element as well, even if not on paper, just in your mind. To what degree do you support or disapprove of this opinion? All right. Beckjohn says, certain individuals feel that these days there are too many options that people can choose from. Do you support this belief or are you against it? Beckjohn, there's a missing object at the end of the question there. Against it. Careful with that. Rajveer says, certain individuals feel that people are flooded with too many options. To what degree are you in agreement with this notion? Very nice, Rajveer. I love your use of the verb flooded in your paraphrase. It's very well used. Okay, flooding is a synonym of overwhelming. Okay, so overwhelming and flooding, Rajveer, are nice synonyms here. Rashika says certain individuals thrust is awkward there. Thrust is to lunge. We don't use its secondary meaning all that often, and it's awkward in this context, Rashika. So certain individuals believe that presently people have more options. More options is not correct. I actually noticed this, that a lot of non-native English speakers don't really understand the meaning of to as the T-O-O. Okay, so this is a very important piece here. I've heard so many students misuse the word to. Okay, so to means as well in the context me too. Like, I like cheesecake. Okay, and then the other person says, me too. Okay, in this context, the word to is positive. Okay, but in many cases, okay, and this is what you have to remember, in most cases, when you are not using to as agreement, it is negative. Okay, so for example, there is too much water in the backpack. I can't carry it. In Seattle, it rains too much. people have too many choices. Okay? So in all of these contexts, the word too is negative. Okay? So two does not equal more. It's really important to keep that in mind. Okay? Yeah, Jainil, it's a negative thought. Okay? So two is not the same as more. In fact, it's very confusing to a native speaker when it's used that way. Is everybody clear on that? So please do not use it like that in your language. Okay? So me too, yeah, that's fine. Okay? Or them too, when you use it with a person pronoun, it's fine. But anytime you use it in another context, it's negative. Okay? It's negative. Okay? So they stop the train too often. Okay, it's negative. It means you're saying they shouldn't stop the train so much. All right, so be really careful with that. If you accidentally misunderstand that in this task 2 question, you're going to be in big trouble in your essay. Okay. All right, so let's go to the next step. What's the next step? What do I do now? Okay, so again, we're starting with a band 9 here, and we're taking the necessary steps. This is my paraphrase. Certain individuals these days argue that people have an overwhelming amount of decisions to make. So I changed the to. Overwhelming means too much. Okay. Abhishek, we don't have a topic sentence here. So we're looking for just the topic, Abhishek, the topic. So Rajveer says, yeah, identify the topic and the controlling idea first. Absolutely. Okay. So topic. What's the topic here? What is the topic? What are we talking about? In a simple way. So if we look at this question and we say, hey, what are you talking about? Then what's the answer? I'm talking about choices. Yeah, choices. Choices. Very good, Samuel. Yeah, and I like how you changed it from options. So you want to keep the original, always the original, okay? Not the paraphrase. Okay, choices. All right, and what's the controlling idea? Okay, what's the controlling idea? So Bekjan, yeah, we could say too many choices here, but I'm actually going to simplify here. I think it's better to keep the topic just as choices and then keep it as 2 separate controlling ideas. Okay? Yeah, so Samuel says too much or not. That's the controlling idea because essentially that's your position as well, right? So within your position. Okay? So that's it right there. So we're talking about choices and we're talking about do we have too much or not for people, right? Yeah, so at people's disposal. Very good, Rajveer. So yeah, we could say that. Too much or not for people. Yeah, it's an important part. I agree. Okay, so now we have to say what are choices? So what would that be? And here we're just looking for a definition. What would be considered a choice? So what are choices here? Okay. So what are choices? And definitely you want to think of definitions as this will be necessary in your essay for the background. So here for your reader, obviously in the background, you will have to define very clearly your understanding or your interpretation of what is meant by the word choices, right? Samuel says options and a variety of choices while buying or deciding a product. Okay, I think you're giving a bit too much information, Samuel, so this is where we have to be very careful to separate the what, the why, and the how clearly. Yeah, so it's a broad range or a range of options and decisions to achieve physical and abstract goals. Okay, I know it's a tricky one here a little bit. The better you define the topic, of course, the better it will all go. So here, what are choices? It's a range of options and decisions to achieve physical and abstract goals, right? Choices don't just manifest in the real world of whether I want to buy cheddar cheese or whether I want to buy goat cheese, but in many other ways as well, right? So Samuel is asking, how do I get that sentence, right? Very good question, Samuel. Excellent. I didn't prepare it before class, as probably many of you have realized by now. I don't prepare for this before class. I just do it naturally. Of course, experience helps a lot, but I go with the flow, and I do use different tools. So I visualize, okay? So Samuel says, it's a very good question here. So Samuel says, how did you do that? Okay, the answer is, I visualized the variety of choices that I make in daily life, such as what I buy at a store, as well as what I say to my wife and child, or what stock I choose to invest in. Then I ask the question of what kinds of choices are these? Okay, so I'm using a logical series of visualizations and interpretations, Samuel. So I visualize my choices in the day, and then I think about, okay, what kind of a choice is that? So buying this kind of cheese versus that kind of cheese, it's a physical choice that I make based on my preference of taste or what kind of food I'm planning to make in the evening. How I speak with my wife is based on my feelings towards her, what my goals are with her actions. What are the consequences if I say something negative to her, right? Excuse me. Sorry if that was loud. Tried to cover the mic. But that was the truth, I guess. That's what they say when you sneeze. And then the stock market. Stock market is another type of decision making where I'm basically investing in markets, and it's not physical, right? It's financial. Okay, so visualizing. All right. Okay, so that's how I did that. Okay, that's how I defined the topic, Samuel. All right, and then why do we have choices? Okay, so why do we have choices, or we can almost say, how does this work? So why do we have choices? Why does a person have choices? Think about here what you'd want to... Yeah, exactly, Beckton. So why do we have this? So think about some object that doesn't have choices, right? Like a rock, okay? A rock does not have a choice, or so we think, of where it is or where it's going or what's happening to it, okay? The rock is just sitting there. So why do humans have this potential for choice, this ability to choose, okay? So Samuel says it's tailor-made to experience and the appeal to a broad spectrum of individuals. Okay, Samuel, I think you're on the right track here. So you're somewhat synonymous to my thinking. So why do humans have the ability to choose? Okay. So Beckjon says we want to choose what we feel is better qualitatively and conveniently. I think, Beckjon, you're thinking more about the how question. Okay, Rajveer says to get quality products and services in the competitive market, but Rajveer, we're not necessarily talking about choices in consumerism. Okay, so careful, Rajveer. This is where a lot of students might make a mistake with this question. Too many choices. It doesn't say you have too many choices for shopping, okay, or for buying and selling items. So it's more general than that here. It's up to you, the writer, to interpret that, right? Why do humans have choice? Okay, so here, what you might think of, and that's why I said this is kind of a tricky question, and I think that's why a student, I can't remember which member, asked me to write the example for this, because they're like, what is this, okay? What did God give man? What was God's greatest gift to man? So for those of you, I think not just in Christian belief, but also in Muslim and a lot of other religions, it's commonly believed that God, or the God's greatest gift to man, was this. What was it? Okay. Samuel says earth. Samuel says choice. Samuel, you're almost right. In English, we say it a little bit different. Pavan says cognition, the ability to think. Yeah, so you're all very close. In English, we say the freedom of will, okay, and will as a noun here. So your ability to say, hey, this is what I want, I'm going to go get it, okay? Have any of you heard that in the English language? So God's greatest gift to man was the freedom of will. Anybody heard that? Now you did, okay? Now you'll be familiar with this. So God's greatest gift to man was the freedom of will, which is basically like saying choice. So the answer here, the reason I said that is because why do we have choices? It's because humans have desires and use thinking, hopefully logical and rational thinking, to make decisions. Okay, so that's what I said. You know, this question seems easy, but I would actually hope that you don't get a question like this on the IELTS, because it is so philosophical and it's tricky to come up with a great essay idea, but it's fantastic for practice and for your college and university level thinking and writing as well. Okay, so humans have choice because humans have desires, needs, and wants, and we have thinking and logical and rational thinking, hopefully, to make these decisions. Okay, so humans have desires and use thinking. I should say have needs and desires. Okay, does that make sense? So does it make sense that this is a very, very important response here? Okay, so that's how it works. What's my next question here? Okay, and you're going to see that when you take a little bit of time in this topic part, then the rest of it will become much easier. So that's why I titled this lesson starting with a band 9, because when you start a little bit slower and you use really good critical thinking, your whole essay will become much, much better. Okay. Pavan says, how are choices made? I don't think so, Pavan. I think that's more specific. Okay, you want to think about that. But in regards to this question, I don't think that how do we choose or how are choices made is the right question here yet. Okay. I would say that maybe a better question here for this essay would be, how are choices created? Okay. So it's not the same as how are choices made. Choices are made using logical, rational thinking from experience, but that's not what we're talking about, because here, students always keep the original question in mind. So we have too many choices, okay? So another question that I could say here from another perspective is, how did more choices come into existence these days than in the past? Okay, so how does that happen? How do we get more choices, right? So how do choices come into existence? How is a choice created, right? So how are choices created? Not par mal, so not necessarily how do humans make a better choice. Keep the original question in mind, but how do humans create a choice? Okay, so how does more choice come into existence? Okay, so let me again go back to that visual situation. So if our great-grandfather went into the store, maybe our great-grandfather had a choice of 2 types of cheese. Now, when we go into the store, we have a choice of 20 types of cheese. How does that happen? How does an increase in the amount of choices come into existence? How does it happen? Okay. So again, Pavan, not how do we make a choice, but how do we have more choices? Okay. How does that happen? Okay, there we go. Now we're starting to get some nice answers. So Rajveer says we have wide knowledge and increased globalization. Very good. Okay. So there is an increase in the amount of knowledge and product available to individuals. Okay. There is an increase in the amount of information. This is driven, or driven is a good word. I want to make sure everybody understands it. So this is driven by increased information exchange and social connectedness. Okay, so that's how more choices come into existence, right? We have more technology than ever before. We're more connected to each other. We have more communication than ever before. So that's how we're presented with more choice than ever before. Okay, all right. So now we have the what, why, how. All right, so a little bit tricky, definitely. Like I said, very philosophical. So what are choices? It's a range of options and decisions to achieve certain life or abstract goals. And why do we have choices? Because humans have needs, desires, and we are able to act on those through thinking, logical and rational action to make better decisions. And then how do these choices get created? Well, they are created with an increase in our knowledge, in our products that result from our knowledge, and then of course an increase in information and the exchange of information through being socially more connected. Okay, so that's how it all happens. Now that we went through the topic, what, why, how, is everybody becoming a little bit clearer on this question? So again, this is why I say IELTS is a thinking exam. So sure, if you write an essay about more choices in stores, you might get an okay mark. But if you realize this and write an essay from this perspective, you have a much better chance to get a really high mark, like a band 8, band 9. Okay? So again, students, remember, this is a band 9 level analysis, planning, writing, okay? So, you know, it's not necessarily what you have to do, but it's what I want you to eventually be able to do, okay? All right? Especially once you get to university, then this is what you need to do. Okay, yeah, Bekjan, very good. So thinking about this question from the general to the specific, as well as from the specific to the general, is really important. Okay, all right. Let's go to The next question here is, what are too many choices? So what are too many choices? So this is thinking about the controlling idea. So what would be too many choices? Let's move along now. Okay, so why would somebody say something like too many choices? So what are too many choices? Okay, I'm going to spoil the fun here just because I want us to really get to the thesis and the introduction. There is no such situation. Okay, so there's no such situation as too many choices. I think one of the best examples that I can think of here is think of a choice of 2 ice cream flavors versus 100. Okay. So I don't know about you, but I'd rather have 100 choices of ice cream than just 2 choices of ice cream. Okay. So what are too many choices? There's really no such thing. Okay. This would be one good way to think about it. Another one would be think about all of the possible choices or career choices or study choices in university. Okay, so I think most of us would agree that being able to choose a specific field of engineering is better than just being able to choose engineering alone. Okay, so humans have always had an infinite number of choices. Choices aren't actually quantifiable. So even when our great-grandparents lived in the forest hundreds of years ago, and they had a choice of what to do that morning or which direction to go, they had many choices as well. They were just different choices than we have today, but they had many choices also. Okay, so instead of thinking about too many choices, think about why is it good to have lots of choices. Okay, this is where you should arrive to. So I'm kind of pushing your thinking here. Okay. Why is it good to have many, many choices? So why is it good to have 100 choices of ice cream? Why is it good to have 50 different choices of majors in university? Why is that good? Okay, what's good there? Everything can be bad. Everything can be good. But arguably, if we're optimistic, having lots of choices is probably a good thing. So why is it good to have lots of choices? Okay, so Pavan says to select the best fit. Okay, the best fit for who, Pavan? Finish that idea. It's a very good answer, Pavan. Best fit for who? So Rajveer says it helps people to compare and choose the best fit for their needs and their wants. Exactly, best fit for the individual's needs and wants. Absolutely. Okay, the more choices we have, the more potential we have to choose the best possible direction for our needs and our wants. Why else would that be then good to have all of these choices? Okay. So it's good for the individual, and I've given you this tip before in the past. When you're thinking about these kinds of philosophical questions, you should always think about the individual, and you should always think about, ironically, not just the individual, but, okay, I don't want to spoil it. I think you'll get it. I've given you a lot of hints here. So having a lot of choices. Exactly, Rajveer. It's not just good for the individual, but it's good for the overall society, right? So having lots of choices benefits society. Why? Okay, so let's take that one step further. Why? So why would that benefit society to have more and more choices? Exactly, very good. So keep that's a really important little tip that I've said before as well, and I'm reiterating here, is think about individuals always, think about society, right? We're units within the greater machine of society always, right? So why would having lots of choices for individuals benefit society? Why would that help society, or how would that help society? Okay. Let's say that Bekjan is super good in math. So he loves math and he chooses to study math, and not just any kind of math, but he chooses to specialize in finite math because that's his passion. Why is it good for us to have Bekjan become an outstanding and happy finite mathematician? Why would that be good? Yeah, very nice, Samuel. There you go. Look at Samuel's answer. It's beautiful. Very nice, Samuel. Good job. They contribute their highest potential, right? Because it allows each individual, it gives the opportunity for each individual to contribute their maximum passion and potential to society, right? And that's in every way and form, right? So it's also in the products that we buy as well. So the products and services that we're able to contribute and purchase, right? Somebody loves healing people, and they're an excellent masseuse, or able to massage other people, so they provide that service, which creates further choice, which creates further quality, right? So it adds to the prosperity. Okay, good. So now we're moving along. We've got some great visualization and logic going on. So let's move to the thesis. You're realizing that I'm picking up speed here. It's just because I want us to at least get to this thesis statement. So what would be a good thesis for this essay? So we're looking for that band 9 thesis here based on all of this information that we theorized and figured out here. What would be a band 9 thesis? So write that down. I'll give you a little bit of a head start, and then I'll do the same. Okay? So create a band 9 thesis. Go back to the question. Reference the original question. Okay? Some people believe that nowadays people have too many choices. To what extent do you agree or disagree with this statement based on all of our dialogue? Okay, so we had this dialogue with each other. Come up with a great idea for your thesis here. Okay, I'm going to take a moment of silence to write my thesis, and then we'll compare. All right? Okay, so there's my thesis statement. Gonna cover that up a little bit. Let's see what you come up with. Now again, remember you're thinking of individual and society. And remember what I said in the past too, when you're thinking individual and society, you should always think point 1, individual, body paragraph 1, individual, point 2, society or community, body paragraph 2, society or community. Okay. All right. So Pavan says, although some individuals believe that people have too many options, provided having choices help. Oh, I don't know why you took that back, Pavan. I was just getting into it. It was looking good. Okay, Rajveer says, I strongly believe that individuals are not overwhelmed with too many choices, as these options are required for prosperity of both individuals and community. Very nice, Rajveer. Very well done. You were very, very synonymous with what I wrote. So great job. Okay, that's fantastic. All right. This is my thesis. Hopefully some of you are putting yours up now. Yeah, good. Samuel's, yours is up. So here's mine. Although some individuals may ascertain that people these days have too many options, I strongly disapprove of this notion, as more choices empower both individuals and society to prosper. Okay, so that would be mine. Samuel says, although certain individuals argue that there are access choices, I and many others believe that these are required for society to advance as well as to empower individuals. Excellent, Samuel, that's wonderful. I think what I would do, Samuel, is I would switch the empower individuals with society to advance, because Samuel, if you're thinking later in your essay, then in body paragraph 1, to discuss how more and more choices empower individuals more and more, will connect and make more sense when you put how that helps society, when you have empowered individuals working at their full potential, how society prospers from that. I think that that will fit better. Yeah, so ordering is important. Okay, good, Samuel. Yeah. Individuals, then society, right? Because it's smaller pieces making up the bigger piece. Exactly. Okay. Very good. Otherwise, it's nicely put, Samuel, so I like the way you did it. Okay. Empowering individuals and advancing society, right? So parallel grammar, Samuel. Okay. So more, let me see how you did the beginning there. Okay, I'm going to do it a little bit. So choices, more and more choices, both empower individuals and advance society. So that's kind of the ending of yours there, Samuel. More and more choices both empower individuals and advance society. So empower, verb, individuals, noun, advance, verb, society, noun, parallel grammar. Okay, pay attention to that parallel grammar in as well as the ordering. Okay. All right, students, that's all the time I have for today. So I'm sure a couple of you are still working on that thesis, which is fantastic. We'll get back to finishing the essay tomorrow. To help us move along nicely for tomorrow's class, please complete the introductory paragraph based on our planning. Okay, so from all of that planning that we did, there's a lot of content there to write a really good hook and a background to your thesis statement. So please make sure to finish that for tomorrow. I will do the same, and then we'll start by reviewing the question, the introductory paragraph real quick, and then we'll do body paragraph 1, 2, and the conclusion. Sounds like a plan? Everybody's on board? Good to go for tomorrow on that? Yeah, Janil? You're going to do the introductory paragraph? You don't need to send it to me by email. Just have it ready for class tomorrow. Yeah? Everybody on the same page? Everybody's pumped up about writing that introductory paragraph? Janil says yes. Got it. Good. Okay, everyone. For all of our viewers, to get lots more help, aehelp.com for academic IELTS, gieltshelp.com for general IELTS. And I saw that there was a new member who joined today. Welcome, new member. I'll check out who that was. That was way in the beginning. That was Parmar. Parmar, if you're still watching, thank you so much for joining. Make sure to send me an email so I can send you the links to those exclusive videos, okay? So thanks for coming on board. I saw that. I just didn't have time to catch it. Okay, everyone. Coming up in 30 minutes, some reading with a brand new passage. Make sure to be here for that. Momentarily, I'm signing out from Budapest. Bye for now. I'm Adrian.